Hello, and welcome Apple Hill District 3rd grade teachers. It's so nice to have you here with me today. I'm sure that many of you know each other, but why don't you take a minute before we get started and introduce yourself to somebody you don't know? And if you don't yet have a printout of the presentation, please grab one from the front. Okay, now it's my turn to introduce myself. I am Apple Hill District's literacy coach. I also have experience as a language arts teacher. I will be presenting today's professional development session, but I will also be giving you my contact information should you need any additional resources in the future. Please feel free to ask me any questions along the way, and we'll go ahead and get started. First off today, I want to take a look at some reading assessment data that I pulled from the district and kind of give you my analysis and some ideas of where I think we can go next. Here we have an overview of the district's reading assessment scores, comprising a mix of student achievement in word knowledge and skills, comprehension strategies, and constructing meaning, analyzing literacy text, understanding author's craft, and analyzing argument and evaluating text. As you can see, 3rd grade has 62% of students reaching benchmark in these areas, which is slightly above all other grade levels aside from 1st grade, leaving 38% of students still below benchmark. If we look at this breakdown of information, we see that it is split into 3 areas of focus: reading informational text, reading literary text, and writing. Today I want to focus on the area of reading informational text. If you look at the top bar, you'll see the percentage of students above proficient in blue at 41%. Yellow shows 37% of students at or near proficient and 21% below proficient. So I want to zone in on those 58% of students near or below proficient. So, what standards and objectives are comprised in reading informational text that our students are struggling with? Let's go ahead and take a look. Some of these areas include asking and answering questions, demonstrating understanding of text, comparing and contrasting key details and determining main ideas, describing relationships between events, concepts, or steps in a procedure, and determining the meaning of words. If you look at these 2 pie graphs, you'll see that in 2 different content statement areas regarding word meaning, there were a little over half of students earning 1 point in these areas. The percent incorrect in these areas are at 45 and 43%. And that will be my area of focus today as we look at how reading informational text is tied to understanding word meaning and how we can help students achieve higher scores in these areas. So first, I would like to look at what the research says about reading informational text and its relationship with understanding word meaning, or as we'll reference it today, vocabulary. Let's take a look specifically at informational text and vocabulary. According to Nagy and Scott, 80% of comprehending informational text is tied to understanding the vocabulary. Despite their increased access and exposure to informational texts, students continue to comprehend narrative text at higher levels. Research shows differences in the vocabulary between informational and narrative texts, in that the complex, unique vocabulary in informational text require instruction focused on discussion and demonstration. According to Fisher, strong academic vocabularies help students understand informational texts. Libfreund and Conradi suggest teachers should utilize research-based instructional strategies to increase students' vocabulary knowledge in order to help them comprehend informational texts. Additionally, successful readers need to both read words efficiently and understand their meanings. Again, according to Fisher, when students learn vocabulary and foster word knowledge, they gain much more from informational texts. A major contributor to reading problems can be narrowed down to the vocabulary demands of these texts. And according to Bince, as well as Ogle et al., research suggests that vocabulary is more than just memorizing definitions. Rather, it involves seeing, hearing, and using words in a variety of ways so that they can be personally and actively involved in constructing word meanings. All of these findings are great and super helpful, but I'm sure All of these findings are great and super helpful, but I'm sure we are all asking, how can we improve vocabulary knowledge to help our students with informational text comprehension? So today, I'm going to describe a strategy to help with increasing vocabulary knowledge, and then we're going to take some time, practice using it ourselves so that we can be comfortable using it within our own classrooms. The strategy I'll be talking about today is called word or concept sorts. It is a hands-on activity where students categorize words based on meaning, relationship, forms, functions, or any other categories you or they can think of. This strategy allows teachers to introduce vocabulary, but it also allows teachers to gain an insight into students' prior knowledge. It also provides students with opportunities to compare, contrast, and analyze word meanings, which will additionally help them with their overall informational text comprehension. On this next slide, I've listed the necessary steps to implement this word or concept sort strategy. Step 1. You as the teacher will choose a topic or a text, as well as up to 20 associated target vocabulary words. Step 2, you will decide what type of sort you'll use. So there's two different kinds. You can do a closed sort, where you decide on what and how many categories students will divide their words into, or an open sort, where students get to create their own categories and decide how their words will fit into their groups. Next, for step 3, you'll model the sorting process for students and explain to them why you sorted the words into the categories you chose. Step 4, you'll put students into small groups or into pairs if that works better for your classroom. Finally, you'll provide students with a piece of paper to write out the target words, sort them, and then allow them to share and explain their sorts with the rest of the class. Additionally, teachers can also choose whether they want to implement word sorts before or after reading. The rationale for using this strategy before reading is to gauge students' prior knowledge and help guide students' vocabulary understanding. The rationale for using this strategy after reading is to gauge students' comprehension of the content. So next, we're going to take some time to practice using this strategy so that we ourselves are comfortable using it in our classrooms. For this exercise, we will be practicing an after reading word sort. I chose a 3rd grade level text excerpt, 16 target vocabulary words, and 3 closed sorting groups. So, to begin, I would like for you to get into groups of 2 or 3. Go ahead and read through the text excerpt in your presentation printout that you have. You can read independently or choose one member to read aloud, whichever you might do in your classroom and whatever you're comfortable with. Then go ahead and work together to sort the vocabulary words into the designated categories. I will leave this screen up and give you about 5 to 10 minutes to work on this exercise. So go ahead and get started. Okay, now that you've had time to complete this exercise, I would like to do a quick jigsaw to give you some discussion time. So, if you could number yourselves 1 to 3 in each group, we will have ones meet on the left side over here, twos will meet on the right side, and threes will meet up front by me. Once you've moved into your new groups, I would like you to take the next 5 minutes or so to discuss the following: your group's word sort choices. Tell those in your new group, what did you like about the strategy? Okay, maybe what would you do differently in your own classroom? Would you use this before, after reading? And think of any questions you might have about this strategy that I can answer at the end of this presentation. Okay, I hope you got some good discussion time in answering all those questions. Because I know that each school building in the district has a unique set of teachers, as well as students with varying achievement levels, I wanted to lastly offer some differentiation options for each school based on the assessment scores that I was looking at. For Braden, I would suggest as an activity extension to have your students maybe read this as an activity extension, maybe have students read the selected text and decide which words should be chosen as vocabulary themselves to further extend their word knowledge and to practice taking responsibility for their own learning. For Cortland, I would suggest to focus on their writing as an extension to the activity. Maybe have students complete a double entry journal using the vocabulary words, whether they tell a story, write a letter, or just respond to the text with what they think. I think that would be helpful in that area. And finally, for Darcy, as an extension, I would suggest having students maybe do a jigsaw to discuss their choices and to come up with additional categories of their own on top of the ones you might have already chosen for them. At this time, I would like to thank you for taking the time to come here today and invest in furthering your education. It truly shows that you're invested in your students' success. I will now open the floor for any questions you may have come up with through your discussions, and I have also provided my contact information just in case you need any additional resources or support, or if you happen to think of anything I could help you with. Please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or a text message. I'm here to be a lifeline for you.